Here's Cody's brand. Oh my God. It's, how much time do we have to talk about this? First off, just thank you so much for everyone showing up here today. I know you could have gone to Magic Mike, but I'm just glad that you guys decided to come here instead. I'll be at Magic Mike's later if you guys want to hang out. Like, it'll be a good time. So a lot of people come to my seminars and they leave sometimes feeling a little dejected. They feel maybe like I've maybe targeted them. They feel maybe triggered. So if that happens during here, it's not unusual, but it's not my intent. My intent is to really just try to teach you as much as I know about this topic, to really try to help you build a brand and help you better understand how to leverage a brand in your market. So obviously you heard a little bit about me. We have about 35 employees right now. We've done, I think at this point, it's a little over 2,500 home service brands. This year we'll probably do about 250 home service brands. You probably know some of the home service brands we've done, some of the bigger companies like A1 Garage. We've done Gettle in Phoenix and in Las Vegas. And you know, the great thing about what we get to do is because of people like you, I essentially and my team get to live our why. And basically the biggest thing that we have that I love about what we do is we get to change lives with the work that we do. And we consider that responsibility sacred. It's a really important thing to be playing with the livelihood of people and their businesses through their brands. And it's something that we considered really sacred. And that responsibility is enormous. I also like to just talk and just express my gratitude that I'm standing here today before you. I am a heart surgery survivor. I had open heart surgery about 3.5 years ago, or 1,163 days ago. And I try to remember that number every day and just express gratitude for the fact that I'm standing here today and that I got a second chance to live and to live my why. So thank you for the opportunity to speak to you guys today, and I'm super grateful to be here to be able to talk about this. So we're going to talk a lot about, obviously, branding, and we're going to give you a lot of examples of work that we've done before and afters, and just try to have you think about the psychology behind branding. Try to think about how it is you can create a brand in your community that disrupts, and how to make you less reliant on some other marketing channels that are quite expensive. So looking at this really quick and going back and forth, this is essentially what is happening in the communities that you're servicing and the messages that the consumers that you're targeting are receiving. So what are you doing for your brand to make it memorable? One of these brands looks different than all the rest. There's something different about one of these brands. And if you look at the way this one brand sits at a supply house, you'll notice that this one is obviously very different than all the others. And this is essentially what is happening out in the streets today. So we're going to talk a lot about how we build this brand that is actually disruptive, that people remember. Does anyone know what this sickness is called? What do we call that? White van syndrome, we call that. Okay? It's really awful. You know about it, Cody. Yeah, we have an example of Cody's white van syndrome. So this is the thing that we're trying to avoid. We're trying to use your vehicle as a mechanism to be disruptive in your community so that you don't blend in. So the whole notion of what we do when building brands is the idea of renting space in people's minds, okay? That's you want to distill branding into one of its simplistic ideas. That's one of the most important ideals regarding branding, is living in people's minds. Because the idea is, I want them to think about you when they need service. I want them to remember your name, okay? And again, weak branding certainly inspires no one. There is one organization that loves weak branding. Who can tell me who it is? Google, thank you. Who said Google, by the way? Did. All right, you win a copy of this book, by the way. It's an amazing book that I wrote there. So Google loves you when no one knows who you are. When they have to go in and type in garage door repair near me, or garage door repair Sacramento, California. And you have to pay them to put your name in front of the people that are trying to find you. And that's what we're trying to avoid. That's what great brands do, is they rely less on this paid advertising and they rely more on people just remembering you. So what can we do to be more memorable? Keep in mind that our ideal target audience is a woman, okay? And unfortunately, she probably has no idea who you are. What have we done to make your brand memorable to her? Certainly Google loves it when they don't know your name because they make a ton of money off of you. This stat is really scary when you think about it, but essentially 84% of the people who are trying to search for a home service contractor do not know the name of that contractor before they go on Google. That's a lot of missed opportunities. Again, what if they knew your name before they were searching? Okay? What would that mean? How much less would you need to spend on your marketing? So like I said too, when it comes to home service decisions, 80% are made by women, okay? So branding 101, number one, women rule above all else. You know, if we're guys, we know that, okay? We'll see at Magic Mike's later. So win on the streets and we can win on Google. And that's, again, leveraging the impressions that your vehicle makes, leveraging the opportunities at community events, some of that grassroots stuff. We spend so much money because sometimes it's easier to just to throw money at Google instead of doing the legwork to become visible within our community. Okay, so just showing like a brand that we launched for a company called Rocks Roofing. So instead of avoiding or using that stereotypical kind of clip art roof logo for a roofing company, we developed this brand like a rock star. And look at the stats as far as how much increase they had over here in terms of the organic traffic that came from branded keyword searches. This is another company that we rebranded, and look at the spike that happened immediately subsequent to the rebrand in terms of inbound traffic, literally like a day after launching their new brand. And this one is really impressive because this is 1,500 branded keyword searches in the month of July for Bueller heating and air conditioning, or air conditioning actually, okay? What would you pay for 1,500 leads directly to your website in a month if you were paying them to LSA? What's the average? Like, what do most people pay? $50, $60 a lead, maybe? So it's like $100,000 worth of leads delivered just from their vehicles alone, okay? So I love pretty things. I love creating pretty logos, pretty brands, pretty truck wraps, and all that stuff is great. At the end of the day, who cares if it doesn't deliver results? So the most important thing is the data behind the pretty brands and the pretty logos. So we have a digital marketing company that we work with, and they've done about 50, they've done over 50, but I asked them to compare 25 brands that we had created that they had designed the websites for versus 25 brands that we did not create the logos for. And I said, what does the data show us about this concept of becoming sticky within the communities that we serve? And it was really interesting. So they averaged out the 25 brand versus non-brand. And on average, it's almost 10x the number of branded keyword searches that are happening for the companies with better brands. So again, what would you pay for 10 times the amount of inbound traffic coming to your website via branded keyword searches, which are very intentional keywords? They convert better. So then I said too, well, what's the conversion rate on those same inbound leads? And the branded companies are converting basically double the non-branded companies. So you extrapolate that, and it's almost 50 or 60 leads more a month coming in via that mechanism. So we know what's happening is they see the brand in the community, they're remembering it, they're assigning a promise to it, meaning I believe something positive about the experience I might get if I actually chose to hire them. Therefore, the conversion rates are going to be higher because they hit the website, oh my God, I've seen that truck in my neighbor's yard. I've seen that truck all over my town. That's establishing the notion that they're credible, reliable, they're in the community that I serve. And that's also helping with the conversions. So you also look at branding as what is the promise. I would say most of you that are here are here because you're trying to better your business. You're probably doing all the things that are normal for best practices, right? So you're practicing best practices. You guys probably ring the doorbell and you guys kill it. You provide an amazing service. If Mrs. Jones saw your truck and knew nothing else about you, would she think that you guys would kill it? Or does it have to happen after she experiences it? I'm trying to control what happens before she gets there, okay? So thinking about branding in terms of how critical it is to get the logo done properly. So I have this thing that we developed. I talk about it in my book called the brand wheel, okay? Within the center of that wheel is your logo. If you don't get that piece right, then nothing around that wheel is going to function properly, okay? And by the way, I see some guys taking pictures of this, the entire presentation. I have a QR code at the end. You could download the entire thing, okay? So, I mean, you can still take pictures if you want, but just FYI, the whole thing you guys can download. So if you don't get that logo right, that wheel will not turn as well. So if it's not going to turn as well, what does it need then? It needs more money to make it turn. So the notion is how do we build an effective brand that will allow us to spend less money on marketing? So again, without a good brand, without a good logo, the ROI in all your marketing is going to be compromised. So if you think about this notion, have anyone else heard the term 5 Mile Famous? So it's this idea that if everyone 5 miles around where your home base was knew who you were, you wouldn't need to go well beyond that 5 miles because there would be enough business for you if everyone in that community knew who you were. So that's essentially the goal of what we're trying to do when you build a disruptive brand. So again, your truck wraps, your site signs, your billboards, attending home shows, social media, those are all things that you're doing to try to make sure that the people within that 5 mile radius know who you are. But they're only going to work better with a better brand. So even just thinking about the notion of, investing in a logo, investing in a brand, it's not cheap to have it done correctly. But the most expensive logo you'll ever buy is one that you paid the least for. And why is that? What does that mean? Because weak brands are going to translate into all these other things. They're going to translate into lower average tickets, lower booking and close rates. Your marketing spend is going to be higher. We hear people talking about their marketing spend, and they're like, well, you need to spend 10% to grow. Well, I can tell you that there's a lot of clients of ours that are spending 5% that are growing so fast. So sometimes I hear people say 10% to grow, and then I look at their branding, and now I know why they're spending 10%. Because they don't have a brand that's really functioning properly. That wheel is not turning properly because they don't have a great brand. Think about the recruitment costs. Jody Underhill is here. He can talk, and he probably talked this morning, and I'm sorry I missed your class, but I've heard you talk and your team talk about the effect of branding on recruitment. When people say, I can't find anyone to work for me, well, sometimes it doesn't look like a company that people want to work for, right? So fixing that problem will also is so important to make it look like a place that people want to work. You're going to save money on recruitment costs. And again, it translates into culture, okay? The great Roy Williams, if anyone has read any of Roy Williams' book, it's great books. He's from The Wizard of Ads, and he came up with this quote, overspending on advertising is a tax businesses spend for being unremarkable. And that really, in a nutshell, distills the problem with poor branding. Everything you're trying to do is become remarkable in your communities, okay? So again, the weaker the brand, the more money you're going to spend on marketing it. So you could look at this, and you may see logos that look similar to your own logo right here. There is one logo on here that doesn't really look the same as the other ones. It's just slightly different. It's a chameleon, by the way, if you didn't pick that up. This is the original brand for Nathan. He's somewhere in here. There he is. He's trying to hide. He's like being a chameleon over there. Functional, right? I know what they do. Why would Mrs. Jones remember that? Is there any reason that she would remember having seen that and becoming memorable? Like, oh my God, I saw that amazing pro garage door van, and it's stuck in my mind. No, that never happened. It's never happened, right, Nathan? But this one, I'm pretty sure she might remember seeing this, right? And one of the interesting things that Nathan said to me is he said, we've had these customers that think we just moved here and we've been here for years and they never knew we existed because we had that white van syndrome happening. We had that white van that blended in, no one remembered us. It's pretty hard to ignore this branding. Very unique, very disruptive. This is another example of a roofing company that we did the branding for. Why would anyone ever really remember this? The colors are awful, the logo's awful, it's not maximized, and we changed it and we used colors that could be unique, ownable, memorable, and we introduced a tagline, consider it done with months, to help them aid in remembering it. Okay, that's the whole point of everything we're trying to do. Again, renting space in their mind. And you can see the way the colors are used. Again, the idea of being 5 Mile famous, just doing simple things like sight signs, putting them out while you guys are working, in addition to having a really disruptive truck wrap sitting on the driveway. And you can see the way all these trucks look. Pretty hard to ignore this brand in that community. But more importantly, again, look at the numbers. Look at the direct searches that happen afterwards, okay? It's a lot of money that would have been spent to get that same amount of traffic. And this is the revenue increase since the rebrand happened, and we did it in March. And you can see what the numbers did. This is for a roofing company just outside of Philly. Naming, one of the most important parts. In my book, it's the biggest chapter. It's one of the things that so many get wrong literally from the day that they start their company is they name their company wrong. Okay, the worst names for home service, and I'm gonna probably upset some people, initial-based brands, JP Garage Services. Why would Mrs. Jones remember JP Garage Services versus Jolly Goat Garage or something like that? Last name brands also really, really hard to become sticky, really hard to assign a promise to it. Okay, there's probably a lot of people who in here has a last name based brand? Nobody? So it's gotta be, they're afraid to raise their hand. Yeah, that's fine. But why is that hard? Well, I need to experience what that's like in order for me to form an impression of what that last name brand would signify to me. Conversely, wouldn't it be better if I can control, or at least attempt to control, what Mrs. Jones thinks about the experience before she even interacts with my company? Wouldn't that be better? So a lot of companies start that process needing to spend so much money to overcome those initial obstacles, okay? This is a company we rebrand Garage Door Solutions. Okay, so I know that they do garage door solutions. That sounds much more like a search term on Google than an actual brand name, right? So this is the rebrand for Jolly Goat. And Jeff's here, there's Jeff. Like Jeff gets goats and brings them to his home service events. Do you know what kind of magnet a goat is to Mrs. Jones and her kids that don't want to be at the home show, but she dragged them over there? And like Jeff, you said, like they just swarm up and they want to pet the goat. Isn't that a lot more memorable than this? Like, why would Mrs. Jones connect with this on any level? Okay. This is another company we did the branding for, a rebrand, called Garage Door Repair Company. You'd say, well, that's a good name. Like, I can tell what they do. Well, that is also another Google search term. So now you're fighting with everyone else that's trying to be #1 for Garage Door Repair Company, and that's the actual name of your brand, okay? So we renamed them Rise and Shine, and we created this rooster. And look at the revenue numbers on this. They went up from 3.3 to 4.7, 44% increase, and they've really embraced it. Like, they've taken to a whole other level. Like, when I came up with this logo, I'm like, really? You guys are going to dress up like roosters? All right. But, you know, they have videos. Go to their TikTok channel if you want to watch some funny stuff. But, oh, my God, is it memorable? Do people remember them? They show up with a van that's branded like this, and people do not forget them, okay? So keep in mind, too, that the brand is also the things that they talk about to their neighbors. What is that experience like? Everything that your technicians are doing when they're interacting with their homeowner is helping them also to form an impression of your brand, okay? The idea is controlling those first impressions, okay? There's a song, I'm gonna date myself, Suicidal Tendencies. Anyone? Jake is probably a fan, yeah, I knew that. There's a song that they have called, it's called Subliminal, and the chorus goes, they're effing with me subliminally. I'm basically doing the same thing, okay? Maybe that's not politically correct to say, but essentially that's what we're trying to do, is we're trying to make them believe something about the experience before they actually get to hire you. So M&M Garage Doors rolls up the driveway. What does Mrs. Jones think that she's going to get from that experience? Do you think he's going to get a higher average ticket with a van like that? Or is he going to get a higher average ticket with a van like this? It's the same company, same processes, same technicians, but which one feels like a company that delivers a premium service? So that's the thing, matching the brand with the amazing service that you all provide. And if the brand isn't communicating that promise, then you're going to have a much harder time increasing your average tickets. Your booking rates are going to be lower, your close rates, things like that. Same thing here, Cooler Garage. I couldn't find a better picture of their old brand, and one of them is here, I think. Anyway, versus this. One looks super high end, and one looks, middle of the road kind of thing. So when we talk about average tickets, so many things that go into a consumer believing that there's a reason why they should pay you more for your service, but a lot of it is being delivered to her before you even get to ring the doorbell. All those impressions that we're making out on the street are signifying to her what that experience might look like, okay? So the brand doesn't make people believe there's a reason why to spend more with you, then your close rates are going to be down. You're going to have to lower your price because you're not able to convince them that there's a reason to pay a premium for your service. So again, who looks more professional? The magnetic sign look, like this guy might be out of business next week. He's here somewhere too. There he is, he's in the back, he's hiding. Or this one, which one is more memorable? And just case in point on this, prior brand 500 to 800 on his average tickets, and the rebrand 1,200 to 2,300. And would that contribute to top line revenue, top line profit? Another brand that we did, I know there's a couple of these guys here, yep. So functionally, this isn't an awful brand. It's actually a really cool brand. Like, I love this logo. When they came to us and said, hey, we want to redesign this, I was like, well, there's aspects of this that I really actually like and I think we can work with. But did we maximize the canvas? It's a huge canvas. We got a little small logo on the door, right? Versus this, okay? And we changed the colors too. Why did we change the colors from black and red to brown and ivory and red? Because I wanted the brand to appeal to women more. I wanted to be less masculine, okay? So even just thinking about how colors affect psychology, and again, revenue numbers up 150% in 18 months, average tickets up 230%, which is huge. And then look at the traffic that was happening as far as inbound search traffic, okay? Another company we did the branding for, another white van syndrome here, Air Source America, which would be a great name for a heating and air conditioning company, or actually an oxygen supply company, I should say. But the owner's last name was Bueller. I don't know, this is the exception to the last name brand rule. Bueller, how do we miss this one? So we renamed them Bueller, and this is the beauty of this one, and I love this one, this example. Average tickets 6,100 to 13,000. Revenue up to 18 million in 5 years with less than 5% ad spend. So again, how did that happen? Well, 1,500 branded keyword searches in July is certainly helping an awful lot. Everyone within the community knowing that name Bueller, Stay Cooler with Bueller, is helping an awful lot. But do you think that would ever have happened with this? Why would Mrs. Jones ever remember this brand name? Why? Because it's got the red and blue arrows for heating and air conditioning? Woohoo! Red and blue arrows. Never seen that before, right? So another one just showing that wheel and how every piece of that wheel is on brand. So no matter where that homeowner is communicating with that brand, it's communicating that promise, that expectation of excellence, okay? So again, like I said, better brands mean better booking and close rates. Grasshopper is a company that we rebranded. She has a 93% booking rate. Well, why is the booking rate so high? She has amazing CSRs. I don't want to take anything away from the CSRs that answer her phones. But I will say this, that the people that are calling already have an expectation of what the experience is going to be like. They've seen the vans in the community. They're active in the community. They know that this is a solid company, and that's why the booking rate is so high. And again, too, like we said, the longer you wait to build a better brand, the more expensive it's going to be. It's going to be more expensive for your marketing. It's going to be more expensive for recruitment and all those other things that go along with it. So why do I love the opportunity to build a better brand? Because in most communities, there aren't a lot of great brands. So being remarkable is actually easy in a lot of different communities because most people don't embrace it. You think about how many white vans are in your communities right now. What if you had the only brand that people remembered? Then it would be a lot easier to be disruptive. So thinking about the notion too, that a comfort zone is a beautiful place, but nothing ever grows there. So that really is something that has to do with branding as well. And I get the notion that whatever you have today has taken you here to what you are, right? And I get the notion that it's comfortable to you. But does it represent who you've become today? If people looked at your brand, can they judge and think that they're going to get this amazing service that you deliver today? Or is it that same brand that you started 10 years ago? You know, you had to bootstrap it, then you've kind of kept growing and growing, but it doesn't really match what you guys actually do today. So just think about that, right? What got you here probably won't get you there. And some really famous guy said this saying here, success in spite of a poor brand is not a valid reason to perpetuate it. Who knows who said that? Me. Yeah, I said it. So just want to make sure you got that. So Tommy Mello came to us about 3 years ago, and he was at $32 million in revenue at the time. And he said, this isn't really good, Dan, is it? And I said, no, Tommy, it's not very good. But by all benchmarks, you would say, well, the dude's at $32 million in revenue. Like, you're going to throw away the branding that got him to $32 million in revenue? That's ballsy. I mean, it's a little scary, right? But he knew that what he had wasn't going to take him to where he wanted to go. And so we rebranded him with this. And again, some color changes were done very deliberate. Why did we pick red, ivory, and the brown color? Again, trying to soften the brand. His prior brand was red and black with a really weird Pontiac car in that logo. I don't know why Tommy had a Pontiac there, but in any event, very difficult to even figure out what was happening on this truck route with the use of photography, okay? Another brand has the classic problems of having too much content on there. So again, like this may upset some people if they have this on their truck, but things like service, sales, installation, like if you have that on your truck, like please take it off next time. Like you don't need it. It's obvious that you do sales, service, and installation. Mrs. Jones is not choosing you because it says sales, service, installation on the side of your truck, okay? So which company looks like a company that can get a higher average ticket? And this one, the phone number is the most important thing. Again, another thing may trigger some people. If your phone number is the most important thing on your van, you're doing it wrong. Like, just change that. It shouldn't be. The bigger the phone number, the weaker the brand, okay? So another company, this is a $42 million company when we rebranded them, and they're up $16 million in a year since we rebranded them. And this is a smaller company, again, with that sales, service, installation thing. Rebranded them, more unique colors, revenue up, install average is up, close rates up, and net profit is up. Here's Cody's brand. Oh my God. All right, well, it's, how much time do we have to talk about this? Yeah, so this is not good, but we fixed them all up. We got them a little bit better with this. Average ticket's up 60%. From 4 million to 12 million in 2 years. And more importantly, net profit 500 to 3.5 million 1 year. So awesome job there. I mean, but again, a really good example, and not to sort of be painfully obvious about it, but doesn't really speak about promise. So when is it time to rebrand? Like I mentioned earlier, does the service that you provide today match the deliverable, right? Is it actually look as good as what you do when you walk in the home? Is the color scheme that you use unique in your community? Can you own your own colors? Or are there 10 other companies that have the same exact colors that you have? If so, it's gonna be really difficult for people to remember your unique colors in comparison to your competitors. Certainly if your marketing spend is approaching 10%, that's typically an indication that there may be something else at play that's causing you or making you rely on having such a high marketing spend. And certainly there's a lot of ego involved, and I totally understand that, and I get that. You know, I say in my book that, you know, brands are like a warm blanket to their owner. You know, they're so comfortable with it. They've been using it for so long. They say, oh my God, it's been working so well. Why would I ever change it? So just give that some thought. The other thing to keep in mind is who are we selling to? So in my book, I talk a lot about the psychology behind branding, okay? And the bias that consumers have when dealing with home service contractors in general. And it sucks that there's this bias against you, but it's the reality. They're afraid of who's coming to their home. They don't trust you. They think they might get scammed. They have all these things going through their minds. So what are we doing to diffuse that bias? What are we making them feel about the brand and your company before you even get to ring their doorbell, okay? So you see a lot of brands like this. You know, literally this guy is coming to your house, right? He's gonna beat the crap out of you if you don't pay. And this is what a lot of guys do. Like they put brands like this out there and they forget that the audience is a woman. Do you think she's super stoked that this dude's coming to her house? And I know that it's not the real dude that's coming to the house, but he's like somebody like that. She may think, well, maybe they're all big muscled guys and I'm gonna be alone and I don't want this guy coming. So what do we do to diffuse that? Think about something like this instead, right? Right, Cool Willie's. Cool Willie's is coming over, man. Like, I'm stoked, right? He's not gonna rip me off. He's cute, right? And the old brand is on the bottom. We renamed them. They used to be called Williamson with the famous sun and snowflake logo. You know, I don't know why anyone would ever remember that brand, and that's why we changed it. But revenue numbers almost doubled in 1 year. And more importantly, they sold so many more memberships. You think about you guys trying to sell membership agreement plans to your customers. Well, what reason does Mrs. Jones have to sign up for a membership agreement plan? Do we give her a reason to think there's a value in what you provide? That's the other piece of it, right? And this is just a great example of the notion of being sticky for this company. So this is a coffee shop right in the heart of where they service. And they made a Facebook post about their trucks. And they said, we haven't used Superior Comfort, but every time I see their trucks all around downriver, I smile. It's the cutest logo, soothing color scheme. Whoever created that logo was a genius. Thank you. I see Superior Comfort all downriver. So do you think when she's ready for service, she's typing into Google, heating repair downriver? Or is she typing in Superior Comfort? Because it got stuck in her mind, because she already has this impression of what that experience is going to look like. So the other thing too is don't mistake visibility with delivering brand promise, okay? You can make your trucks, you know, pink with polka dots, and everyone would say that they see your trucks all over. But the other thing to consider is what is the promise being told, okay? So even looking at this, when we did this brand, and they said, everyone sees my trucks all over. And then we changed it to something that at least was delivering that promise that was more memorable. In 5.5 to 9.5 in the 2 years on a 4.5 ad spend. Okay, again, that's the beauty of it, is that lowered ad spend. There's another company where literally everyone said, we see your trucks all over. Really? Like, probably, but does anyone know the name of this company? Like, that's a real question, by the way. You can answer any time. No, it's right here. It's Jay's HVAC, Unlimited, LLC. By the way, if you have LLC in your logo, it's not a good thing either, by the way. So, in any event, we rebranded them to this, made it more memorable, easy to read, okay? And this is their actual trucks out on the road. Delivering promise while being memorable. It disrupts with that color scheme, okay? So thinking about colors is so important for your business. I want you to think about if you went back after this event and you literally printed out your top 5 competitors and put them on a board, where does your brand live within that? Does it have the same colors as everyone else in your community? So if so, why would anyone remember it unique to you? So think about that. So I try to say avoid red, white, and blue. You say, well, Dan, you're not patriotic then. Well, it's hard to own red, white, and blue when there's Americana. That's why I don't like red, white, blue. I love this country, but I wouldn't want to brand my company with red, white, and blue because it's just so hard to own. It's so hard to see a blue van, and every time I see that blue van, I think of your company only, right? So think about colors that are a little bit more unique. Avoid those common colors. Try to think more disruptive. Just a couple of examples of more disruptive color schemes here that you can see that feel different, that feel not like stuff that you've seen before. Here's a really cool one for a company here that we rebranded. Another company too, we're just using colors and how the colors integrate on all their marketing channels. So this is the brochure we did for these guys at Ponderosa, and you can see the van there. But these colors are like kind of weird colors, right? You probably haven't seen together, but that's also what makes it more unique, more ownable. Another company too with that white van syndrome, the red, white, and blue thing, 24/7 versus this company Hummingbird. 100% geared towards women when we rebranded them and renamed them. We wanted to be memorable, sticky, using colors that were more unique. Again, M&M garage doors feels like a lot more premium brand experience. So again, like I said, talking about even with Jody earlier, the idea of recruitment. You know, a lot of you would say that sometimes the hardest part of your job is finding qualified people. Well, think about the message that you give to the people that you're trying to recruit. Is it a company that I want to represent? Do I want to drive that van? Do I want to put that uniform on? A lot goes into their decision making, and they're judging you as far as do they want to actually represent your brand. So again, the idea of better brands mean better culture. The same thing too for Grasshopper, like I mentioned earlier. Grasshopper is not just a brand that's sticky, because I can say the name Grasshopper and I could already envision what that brand will look like. But the notion of their tagline is not just a tagline that speaks to the people they're selling to, but it's a internal cultural tagline. So forward is a way of life. That's the culture that they embrace within their company. So we will move forward as a company. We will do the right thing for our customers as well. And forward is a way of life at Grasshopper. The original name of that company was PMA Mechanical. And when Amanda came to me, who runs that company, wanted me to rebrand PMA Mechanical. And I told her, no, I'm not going to do it because it's not going to work. It's never going to get you to where you want to go. So she was at $100 million in revenue at the time we rebranded to Grasshopper. And she's built that company to $13 million in 3 years, which is amazing. She's in Albany, of all places. It's not like a huge economic, crazy place. It's Albany. Nothing against Albany if you got people from Albany, but it's not like doing it in some other markets. So it's pretty remarkable what she's been able to do. And this is what it looks like inside of her space. So you can see how the branding lives and breathes and how they reinforce the core values. And when you walk into this space, this does not look like every other HVAC company that you may have been recruiting at or trying to get a job at. You know that this is a different place, that this is a special place. The other thing I want to talk about too is just the notion of the enthusiasm that comes along with the rebrand. Now, there's a lot of companies that come to us and they say, Dan, we want to rebrand because the logo's not great, the truck's not great, whatever the case may be. And then they go through the process, and then afterwards, it's like a light switch gets turned on. And they're so re-engaged with the business. They're so enthusiastic about where the business is going. And it's not just them, it's the employees, because you've signaled to the employees that you're reinvesting in their future as well. So that's something also to just keep in mind is how much is that worth to you? How much is that enthusiasm that it brings to your culture worth to you? So this is Jake's vehicle, and I'm going to have Jake talk a little bit about it, but this exhibits some of the very typical challenges, first of all, with an initial base brand, RW Garage Doors. Why would I remember this? What about this is speaking to that promise to Mrs. Jones? What says to Mrs. Jones what does this say to Mrs. Jones? Does it say, oh my God, I'm going to get an amazing experience? The thing is Jake and his team, they delivered amazing experiences after they got in the door. But when he came to me, I said, we got to change the name. I can't do much with this. I can't build a brand that's going to really speak to how amazing your organization is. So we changed the name to Right Way. So we went from RW Garage, which has no promise, right? If I said to you I worked at RW Garage, there's no promise. But if I say I work at Right Way Garage, now all of a sudden there's a direct promise. And the notion that we will do things the right way. And the tagline we developed was get it done the right way. Now the promise is being delivered not only in the visuals, but in the tagline itself. So I wanted Jake, this is what the truck wrap wind up looking like. I wanted Jake just to come up for a minute and just talk a little bit about what it's done for culture, tickets, because this is a lot of where you guys come from, is the notion of that brand not delivering promise and not speaking to the ideal customer that you're trying to sell to.
So I don't know if you can hear me. I think it's really cool that Dan's here. It shows you kind of how like the IDA Expo is evolving. I advocated for Dan to be here, and I'm excited for everybody that's gotten to see the presentation. And I hope everybody's enjoyed it. For me, it was very simple. We want to look cool, number one. We want to look cool for our employees. We want our culture to be built around our brand. And for us, RW Garage Doors was, we've been in business longer than I've been alive, 43 years. And when we went to Dan, it was really not about building an average ticket. It was just about how can we be more memorable with customers. And I think for something that really clicked with when Dan and I were discussing this, is he said, first of all, your name sucks. And
I said a lot nicer than that, though. Like, seriously.
My partner's last name's Reed. My last name's Wold. His old partner had a last name W. It worked out. It was meant to be. He said, we can't work with it. I had never thought in the 15 years I've been with RW that RW stands for Right Way. A customer mentioned it. I mentioned it to Dan. He's like, that's your new name. I'm like, oh, shit. So one thing that really stuck with me, and it was the biggest part, is I said, Dan, I don't know how we can undo 40 plus years of RW. And he said, not only does Right Way speak to your external customers, but way more importantly, it speaks to your internal customers. So when somebody calls, somebody in operations and says, hey, I'm doing a spring change, I kind of configured it, it's off by 20 pounds, can I just make it work? Is that doing it the right way? No. So now everything is all about getting it done the right way. And it's really been the base of our culture. When it comes to average tickets, I think it's not that we're charging more. It's not like all of a sudden we just raised our prices because we have cooler looking vans, we're more organized, our technicians look better. It's about now the customer feels more comfortable going with us. So now they're picking that top option. We have a saying, and I hope a lot of you guys have heard about it. I've spoken a lot, on podcasts about value. And if the value meets or exceeds the price, then you have a transaction. And what the brand's really done for us is it set our technicians up and our salespeople up to win. Because as soon as they pull up and the customer goes out and sees that van, you can just tell that all of a sudden this task of, getting the garage door fixed and worrying if they're going to get ripped off, they automatically just feel a sense of relief. And I think, moving forward, we're only getting better. One thing that we really see now is recruitment. Before we had a thing, we would never hire experienced installers, never hire experienced technicians. A lot of you guys probably have gone through this where, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Now our company is so strong because it's built around our brand and our culture is so strong that we're actually winning with guys from competitors coming over and wanting to work with us. And I just keep seeing it every month. It just gets better and better. Our guys are learning to sell better. We use Service Titan, so we're giving all the options. And I'm just excited. We now have...
There's your numbers too,
Yeah, so 964 right now. If this is in service only, we're at 1364 year to date. And we have 8 technicians. And it's just continuing to go up. We have 4 more vans that got delivered, so we'll have 12. We have 8 sales vans. We have 15 trucks on the road, and we're going to do about 20 million in revenue this year. And
wow,
thanks to this guy.
That's awesome, man. Thanks, man. So here's the QR code to download this presentation. You guys have any questions? I have some copies of my book out here. I don't have enough for everybody in the room, but I have about 20 copies. If you guys want a copy, I guess it's first come, first serve kind of thing, but you're welcome to a copy. But certainly, even if you never become a KickCharge client and you want somebody to just take a look at what you're doing, you want, me to just, maybe there's some things that can be fixed, there's some things that can be done better on your truck, just hit me up. At the end of the day, honestly, I seriously want everybody in this room to win. I want everybody to do as well as they possibly can, regardless of whether or not you ever become a customer. A lot of times there's things about what you're doing with the current brand that maybe there's some small tweaks or small improvements that can really dramatically make it more effective. So just hit me up anytime and I will do my best to help you guys out in any way I can. Again, thank you so much for the opportunity to speak here today in front of you. I'm super grateful and I hope you guys enjoyed this. So thank you.